Hi, Shemai, it's Louise. So something that people have been wanting to see for a very long time on my channel is a tutorial on how on earth I make those LPS move by themselves. It's pretty simple, maybe too simple. There is definitely a much better way I could be doing this. People who actually know how to use After Effects and how to do effects in general will be horrified at the way I do this. But it's just the way I do it. I'm okay at After Effects, but I'm not an expert, okay? So this is the way I figured out how to do this. I've tried to find tutorials to help me make the process quicker, but I've just not found a tutorial that works for me, or I just can't find the right tutorial for what I'm trying to do. So yeah, so anyone who's horrified, I just want to apologize in advance. You're not going to like how I do this. But for everyone who's just as dumb as me, let's get started. So I do all of my effects work in, surprise, surprise, After Effects. Pretty good. It's all in the name. So I'm just going to bring in a clip from Masks 1. So I looked at this clip before, so I know which bit I want to take out. So now I'm just going to drag this down into my timeline. Oh, I've done this into the wrong place, haven't I? Right, so we've got this in the right place now. So we're just going to go back to that original clip. And now we're going to bring in... So to do this effect, you need, first of all, the actual clip. And as you can see, we've got a nice stick moving the LPS here. Ooh, the secrets. But then what we also need is a background shot. So every time I film a shot, I make sure to leave about maybe 30 seconds at the end. Just so I have a background to work with. So we're just gonna select that. And I'm just gonna shave off a little bit at the end there, just because the camera will move a bit when I turn it off. So we're gonna bring that in and put that underneath the main clip we're working with. Okay, and just to make this a little less confusing, I'm gonna color code this. I'm gonna make the background purple. So now we've got our clip. I'm actually going to shave off the first beginning part just because I just want to make this like as short as it can be. There we go. So this is what we're going to be working with today. So today we're going to be using the Masks tool. I know, very fitting. We're going to be using the Masks tool to remove the stick from the LPS. And I'm not going to explain how masks works. You can find plenty of tutorials on that on YouTube yourself. I'm just going to show you what I do, okay? So I like to pick a point where I can first see the stick. So there we go, that's a good place. So we want to make sure we got the right clip selected. Then we're going to take our little masking tool, which is this little pen tool here. And first of all, I like to go in with just like a big mask. We're not trying to do detail just yet. So we're going to do that. And you can notice it hasn't disappeared yet. It's just made everything else disappear. So what we need to do is go into masks and just change it from add to subtract. There we go. And now I'm just going to just select these one by one. I'm sure there's a better way to select these one by one. I've not figured it out yet. As I said, I'm not very good at this. So I'm just gonna do that. And because this is the big mask, I'm also going to, if we expand this, I'm going to feather it out a little bit. Maybe by 20 frames. I think that's quite good. So yeah, so that works quite well for now. But as is going to become quite obvious, this is a moving clip. It's not just like we're not just doing something in Photoshop here. So what we need to do now is introduce keyframes. Ooh, what is a keyframe? Well, it's just like, I don't know how to explain what keyframes are. I will look up an explanation. Did you understand the explanation? Good on you. So now we are going to have, so we're just going to click this, which adds a little keyframe here. And now I'm just going to add another keyframe. And then let's zoom this in a little bit. So now that it's moved down here, I just want to move it down a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're just going to expand this top bit just to make sure we don't have to adjust it as much. I'm also going to expand it a bit. There we go. That's going to make less work for us later. And now, I'm not trying to do this like too detailed right now. We're just doing like a couple chunks of a frame at a time. This is just to get the bulk of the stick gone so that we can then kind of zoom in and get the stick that's directly next to the character's ears and head, where we can come in later and do the detail. But for now we're just getting rid of like 90% of the stick and we'll do the details later. So I'm probably not going to do the whole thing just because that'll take a while. So yeah, maybe this is the point we'll do it until. So I'm just going to also now go back from that first moment we had and now just work my way back. There we go. So that's the big part of the mask. So the reason we're doing this with multiple masks is it just makes it a lot easier, because now when we zoom in to really get into the details of doing this, we don't have to keep zooming in and zooming out to remove the rest of the stick. We can just focus in on this little bit here. So I'm going to create a second mask now. I'm just going to close that down. Make sure we got the right clip selected again. And now we're going to make a second mask. So this is where we're going to actually get a bit more detailed. Now, here's a little trick you can do. We're going to click, but also sort of drag the thing, the keyframe, I don't know. Just watch what I'm doing. I'm not very good at tutorials. So let's see. If there's the main point, here's the end point. So we're just going to use these little thingies to sort of like toggle this. I think that's pretty okay. So we're going to carry on adding the rest of the mask. And then boop, boop, boop. And then just like last time, we're just going to change that to subtract. And we're also going to add a tiny bit of feathering. Maybe about, I don't know, I'm going to do 2 frames just because this is really detailed. So we don't need it to be that feathered, but we just don't want it to look too... Right, so we can already see maybe this mask needs a little bit of adjusting. Right, so we're going to feather this out a little bit because you can see it looks a bit too sharp right now. So we're going to 4 maybe. Is that too much? No, I'd say that's enough with how what the resolution of this is, of what the image is so far. So we're going to create a mask path. And now we're just going to go in. This is where we really want to zoom in. There we go. This is the part where people will start to get angry. So basically, I'm just going in frame by frame and just adjusting this mask. And we're just going to keep doing this until she gets done. When I do this, I usually put a TV show on in the background. Usually I make it the same TV show every time I'm masking. So the entire time I was working on the masking for my short film Masks 2, I was watching Daredevil, because Daredevil is probably, if you want to see like the closest thing to what I was going for with Masks 2, definitely give Daredevil a watch. It's got a little bit of gore. If you're not into gore, I mean, I usually just kind of like scroll past any of like the actually like gory kind of like torture scenes. There's not that much of them, just a few. In terms of like the noir genre, mixed with the superhero genre. Daredevil is exactly that. And it's actually funny because, like, I binged all of Daredevil when I was, like, maybe, like, 13 or 14 or something. So I hadn't rewatched it in quite a while. So then I go on to write Masks 2. So Mask 2 wasn't really directly inspired by Daredevil, but then when I started rewatching it again, I realized that it was so much like what I was going for. Then I was like, oh. So, like, I'm not directly inspired by Daredevil, but I do like to think it is very much what I'm going for. So definitely give that a go if you liked Masks 2 and you haven't seen Daredevil. I really recommend the show. So yeah, and as you can see, we're just talking, we're hanging out. This doesn't seem so bad now, does it? We're just moving it frame by frame. And this is what I mean. It seems like a really daunting task at first, but once you just get into, like, the groove of it, put some TV on in the background. Like, this is something you could just do while watching TV with your family, just in the background. It's something you don't really have to pay a lot of attention to once you've created the masks and you're going. So yeah. So, like I said, we're not going to do the whole clip. I'm just going to do maybe up until the big mask stops moving. So we're just going to... And this is quite rough. This is not like a whole mask. And as you can see, this now needs to just be a tiny little bit moved. So we're just going to twiddle that thing a little bit. How's that look? Yeah, still good. Right, so we've done that. We're going to zoom up. I'm sure there's, like, keyboard shortcuts for everything I'm doing on screen right now that people are screaming at me that they want me to do. So yeah, so this doesn't look too bad. And you can see it's been moved. Now you might also notice the second detail. We've got this shadow kind of here from the stick happening. So in a situation like this, if I was doing this for real, I'd also take the time to just do another mask, probably another just big feathered out mask, feathered out to 20 pixels, and just, like, roughly just remove that. As long as the mask isn't, like, directly, like, touching like the LPS, you don't really need to be too detailed with it. So I would probably just use a big mask for something like this. But yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and render that. We started off very ambitious, didn't we? And then we just kind of gave up. We're like, no, we're just going to do about this much, not the whole clip, just about this much. And we're rendering, and we're rendering, rendering, and we're rendering, and we're okay, I'm going to say something that might be controversial, but I think that Matt is a character who has chemistry with every single woman on the show except Karen. Like, oh my god, when they're in a scene together, I cannot. It is so uncomfortable. Ew. Like, they just don't seem like they should be together. Do you know who should be together? Matt and Foggy. So how did our little baby come out? That was very quick. So after all that, we got this lovely little thing. It's not very much, but we didn't spend very much time on it. Would I suggest that you do this? No. I definitely like the look of this, and I definitely think it was an interesting thing to do for these two films. And I do think this type of effect is really useful for wide shots, which is why for the Night Owl and the Early Bird film, I just masked out the sticks on the wide shots and just left them in on the others because, they look fine in close-up shots where you can only kind of see the stick, but when it's a wide shot and you can really see the stick, it's, like, really obvious. So I like using it for wide shots, but I don't know if I would continue to use this for all shots in my films, just because, one, it is very time-consuming, and I feel like it only brings the film to, like, a 9 out of 10 to a 9.5 out of 10, which is still cool, but, like, it's only a 0.5. Like, it's not make or break in the film, is it? So I'm probably not going to do this anymore. But if you want to give it a go, if you want to make yourself insane doing this for hours and hours, Here's my tutorial. There are the secrets. There are the tools of the trade. And leave a comment down below on if you feel that Karen is better with Matt or Frank. Hoyle vow for now.